working for you. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Roy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for You is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for You.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Working for You, the weekly radio program where you can interact with your government of the day. I am your host, Roy Williams. We are back with you this week. Last week, we had no Working for You because of the sitting of National Assembly that saw the repeal of early voting legislation in the Federation. Today, I am honored to have as my guest Ms. Kaye Bass, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Aviation. Ms. Bass, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. You had a very important ministry in the government, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Aviation. Can you give us an overview of what your ministry does and how vital a role it plays in national, regional, and international affairs, relations, development?
Thank you, Mr. Williams. As you said, Foreign Affairs and Aviation is a very vital ministry or arm of the government. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs particularly is responsible for formulating and coordinating foreign policy. We advise the government on issues relating to the global issues and issues that will affect the domestic agenda. Among the things we do, we participate in international, regional conferences. We also safeguard the interests of our nationals overseas, and therefore our honorary consuls overseas, our consulates are particularly charged with this mandate to ensure that our nationals overseas get the attention that they require and that they deserve. But we also serve the public locally. A lot of nationals do come into the office for different reasons, whether to get an apostille done or something like that. Mm-hmm. So we serve the national overseas as well as those here. We also interact a lot with the international community.
Mm-hmm. Very good, Ms. Bass. As you clearly outlined, diplomacy is basically what you do, or part of what you do. And that the Federation has to build bilateral relationships, friendships around the world, globally. Now, Diplomatic Week, which is from April 3rd to 8th, which is just around the corner, is going to feature a number of activities to really showcase part of what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Aviation does. Can you tell us what the theme is, why that theme, and some of the activities planned for that week?
The theme for Diplomatic Week is forging new partnerships and strengthening networks for economic growth and sustainable development. We believe, as you rightly said, that forming relationships not only with our regional partners, but with our hemispheric and international partners can assist us in maintaining economic growth and increasing our sustainable growth development. And therefore, we believe that Diplomatic Week will offer the opportunity for our heads of mission And we also have representatives from Nicaragua, the Philippines, South Africa, Sweden, Switzerland, Turkey, the United Kingdom, the United States of America, and of course, the resident ambassadors from Cuba, Brazil, Venezuela, and the Republic of China, Taiwan, will also be joining us. In addition to these heads of missions, we have our own heads of missions who will be coming from Canada, from the UK, from Dubai, from the consulate in Dubai. We also have our representative based at the United Nations, our representative based at the Embassy of St. Kitts and Nevis in Washington, and Miss Verna Morris, of course, will be coming from Cuba. So we have all of our representatives who will be here joining us for this auspicious occasion.
That is quite a lot. Now, the theme itself is quite interesting. Forging new partnerships. Have you forged any new partnerships recently? And strengthening networks, I would imagine, those that we already have, we have to strengthen them. And then two key terms here, sustainable growth, meaning not just for today, but for generations to come, and economic development that encompasses quite a lot in terms of sustainable development, human development, and economic development. So,
yes, I'm happy to say, I think the minister, when he was here on your program, he reiterated the importance to himself as well as to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and to the government by extension, the importance of forging new relationships. One of the main areas of the ministry right now, concentration, is to establish diplomatic relations with as many countries of the United Nations as possible. As you know, there are 193, and we are seeking to develop closer relationships with a lot of them. So far this year, we have forged new relationships with Kosovo and Cyprus. We have established diplomatic relations, and we are seeking to also have visa waiver agreements with Saudi Arabia and others on the list. But if I were to continue with Diplomatic Week and some of the activities, because here you will see how we are aiming to address the theme. The heads of missions of St. Kitts and Nevis will be interfacing with students of the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College on the Monday. We believe that our heads of mission should be accessible, not only to their counterparts, but to all members of society. And the young people especially are very important and critical because they are the future of tomorrow. And we believe that if they get an opportunity to engage with our current diplomats, they themselves can assess whether they or evaluate whether the importance of diplomats and diplomacy in the world, maybe what they can contribute as young people to the field of diplomacy, and also to pursue a career in diplomacy and international relations. And so we anticipate that the engagement with youth will be very meaningful for the young people at the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College, as well as those at the Nevis Sixth Form. As you're aware, those in the law forms will be on vacation, unfortunately, but we hope that with the assistance of the media, the presence of our heads of missions will be felt throughout the country as you broadcast some of the activities that will be taking place. I'm happy to say that we will be going, we are not only going to be based in the city, but we are anticipating that we will have access to the persons in the rural areas on Sunday when we participate in the church service. This will take place at the Emmanuel Methodist Church at Sandy Point, and we will be happy to have the public in Sandy Point and in neighboring communities join us for that important service on Sunday. Here we will be, of course, anticipating that we'll ask the Lord's blessings on the week's activities, ask for His wisdom, and ensure that all of our heads of missions and those who visit us realize the importance that we place on religious activities. We also have planned a very important activity on Tuesday. This will take place at the Marriott Ballroom This is the symposium, the feature of Diplomatic Week, if I may say so. It will take place under the theme, the 2030 Sustainable Development, Demystifying Climate Change. A lot of people think that climate change is only for environmentalists, but we have been realizing that it has environmental, social, and economic consequences, and it affects people in all areas of our lives. And it is important that the layman understand what climate change is and get an awareness, become aware of what he or she can do to mitigate the effects of climate change. We have coming to this event, featuring as facilitators will be the new governor of the ECCB, Mr. Timothy Antoine. He will be addressing the economic aspect. And we also have joining us from the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, 5Cs as it is called, Dr. Kenrick Leslie. He will be addressing climate change from the environmental aspect. And we're happy that we have someone from the sub-region, the OECS Commission, head of the Oceans Governance Unit, Ms. Asha Singh. Moderating this symposium will be our very own High Commissioner based in London, His Excellency Dr. Kevin Isaac. And we anticipate that it will be very, very meaningful. And may I take this opportunity to invite the general public, whether you have an invitation or not, although specific invitations have been issued, we expect that the general public will see the need to participate in this dialogue. Along with the presentations, or after the presentations, we will open the floor for discussion, questions, comments, and we hope that a lot of the young people in St. Kitts will flock to Marriott on Tuesday, the 5th of April, begins at 7 p.m. and it will be until 9, and we expect to have refreshments after. So we invite you all to come out and support this very important feature of Diplomatic Week. May I also say that on Tuesday morning, we will have the opening ceremony. This will take place again at the Marriott Ballroom. Addressing the audience will be the Prime Minister himself, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, and we have welcome remarks by our own minister, Minister Brantley, Mark Brantley, and he will be launching a magazine, a diplomatic magazine. And I'm so proud, Mr. Williams, because most of the articles in this magazine were actually written by our heads of missions and workers within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, staff within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And so I'm very delighted to have this magazine launched by the minister.
Forward to that.
Yes, at the opening ceremony. We have a trip planned on a Wednesday for Nevis, where those visiting us from the region, and as well as our heads of missions and honorary consuls, will be joining us in a visit to our sister island, Nevis. There they will visit some cultural historic sites, meet with the Nevis Island administration, also engage students from the Nevis Sixth Form College, and we anticipate that this will be a very fruitful visit to our sister island. It will introduce them to the different aspects in our culture when they go to Nevis. We'll also do a tour in St. Kitts on Thursday.
This exercise, because one of the things that I have noticed, well, especially when I taught some, Caribbean studies, and part of what I did is that I got the young persons to have a journal in which they would look at the news, international happenings, and regional happenings, and even local happenings, because sometimes what happens is that we do not realize that what happens regionally, internationally, and even locally, it affects us all. Yes. And so how important it is to build friendships, to have that sort of support and so on, which you have so clearly outlined.
Yes, Mr. Williams, I hope that I'm speaking to some young persons who have been selected to attend that session, because already I hope that they are thinking about the questions they can ask, and so that session to them will be very productive, very meaningful. And so I invite any young person listening to start thinking about some of the questions you would want to pose to our heads of mission. They are coming from Dubai, they're based in Dubai, Cuba, London, Canada, the United States, and so and also Jamaica. We have a High Commissioner in Jamaica. So hopefully they can start thinking about what questions they would like to engage our SKN High Commission
Sure.
heads of missions about.
Now, ECLAC, the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, is to have a meeting in St. Kitts and Nevis soon.
Yes.
Can you enlighten us about the role of this body in the Caribbean and Latin America? And what are some of the major issues or areas that will be addressed at this meeting? And what is St. Kitts and Nevis hoping to achieve from this gathering at the end of it?
Yes. Simultaneously, in preparing for Diplomatic Week, we are also preparing for an ECLAC meeting. ECLAC, which is a shortened version for Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, is a UN organization, sub-regional organization, but also a subordinate body of ECLAC is the Caribbean Development Cooperation Committee, CDCC, and this was formed in 1975. So this year it will be celebrating its 41st year. It was formed in Trinidad in 1975. St. Kitts and Nevis is a part of this committee, and the CDCC aims to promote cooperation and social development among member countries and between them and developing countries. ECLAC has been very instrumental in the region in collecting data, statistics about debt, social development, poverty within the hemisphere or sub-region. And so this is an important organization which St. Kitts and Nevis is very privileged to be a part of. This year, St. Kitts and Nevis is hosting this meeting because on a rotational basis, it is St. Kitts and Nevis's turn to be the host.
Yes.
And so the Minister of Foreign Affairs will actually be chairing the program. He will be chair for 2 years, and he will be taking over the chairmanship from his counterpart based in Jamaica. The meeting that will be convened here from the 20th to the 21st of April will be again hosted at the Marriott, and it will be in 2 parts. There will be a round-the-table discussion that the minister will chair, and they will consider, as you know, we just came out of completing an agreement on climate change and the development of the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. There are 17 goals, and the issue is how can countries with a high debt be able to accomplish these goals?
Yes, yes.
And so the discussion at the round table will center around the debt overhang, facing this challenge, yet using it as an opportunity to achieve the goals. And so we look forward to welcoming the ministers of foreign affairs in the region. The minister will be hosting his counterparts. They will be coming from 31 countries, all of CARICOM, plus Cuba, QSO, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, St. Martin, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. And this will be hosted at the Marriott from the period the 20th to the 21st of April. We believe the outcome of this meeting will be important for countries that are suffering from high debt, St. Kitts and Nevis being one of them. ECLAC will provide some suggestions and solutions as to how to overcome the challenge of a high debt in order to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Foreign Affairs will be organizing that and hosting it, and of course it will be facilitated by several arms of the government, as we will be also with Diplomatic Week.
Yes, I realize that, ECLAC looks at a number of areas, and one of them basically is natural resources and infrastructure. Given the present situation in St. Kitts and Nevis, with our water shortage, our drought conditions, will this be on the agenda? And given the fact that you spoke about climate change, and St. Kitts and Nevis is presently exploring geothermal energy and looking into other forms of renewable energy, such as wind and sun. Will that also be on the agenda?
Well, I am sure that throughout the discussion or during the discussion, these are issues that will emerge because the theme is the debt overhang, balancing adjustment with sustainable development
Yes.
in the Caribbean. And part of sustainable development
Sure.
is reducing our dependence on fossil fuels
Yes.
and thereby our thrust toward renewable energy
Right.
sources. And so it is inevitable that, yes, the current drought in the region, because this is affecting not only St. Kitts and Nevis, but our neighbors in the region and further afield, I am definitely sure that these issues will emerge and will address. I do not want to preempt what will be discussed, and I don't want to take
Sure.
away from what will be discussed. But based on what I'm seeing and who will be participating, I'm definitely sure that these are
Sure.
issues that the layperson can relate to and will find very interesting.
Sure. No.
If I were to add, some of the topics are maintaining social spending with a debt overhang, financing education in an era of declining resources, the debt challenge and the consequences for health, pursuing food security as a debt reducing strategy. And so in the discussion of food security, we know that
Water.
irrigation is important, and so we expect that, yes, the current drought situation that we're experiencing will be addressed.
Sure.